Okay, welcome back to the channel, my friends. Today I'm going to attempt to remove the injectors and have them tested and cleaned. In the meantime, I'm taking this cowl off. I've never done this before because I usually can get to the plugs in the back by just taking off the manifold. But I'm going to try this, see if it gives us a little bit more visibility, see what we're doing here. Okay, so now that we got that off, that gives us a little bit more visibility in here. I can see behind the engine. I see the starter. There's the intake manifold here. This is the part of the intake manifold, this plastic plenum, whatever they call it. So we're going to take off, I don't see the injectors, so we're going to take off the intake manifold to get underneath here, and that's going to be our next project. Okay, so we got the plenum off. If you need to see how to do all that, you can look at my other videos. I have a video on when I did a compression test and also changed the plugs. I notice here, here's your fuel rail right here, and your injectors are in there. I don't see any leaks or anything, but I just wanted to point out some water on this. Little drops of water on here, and also it's kind of oily in there, and the PCV valve also had oil on it. So there's, the car's got 140,000 miles on it, and I know that these cars were known for rings, and I can get a brand new short block for about $1,700. I have no problem doing that, but if I'm going to pull the engine out, I might want to try to fix it myself. So anyway, so you got a good look at this. So next part we're going to do is we're going to remove the fuel rail, depressurize the fuel pressure in the system, disconnect the battery, and the fuel line, which is right here. This is the fuel line, so we can depressurize that so there's no fuel. Anyway, that's the next step. Stand by. I'll be back. Okay, so we're back after a good night's sleep. Get ready to tackle this injectors here. I'm starting to remove some of the wiring to get this out of the way so I can get in there and see. So going to disconnect the coils. Okay. Okay, so it might be of help if you have one of these 90-degree needle nose pliers, because you need to get in. You don't have to, but in order to get these little clips out, they're kind of embedded in these little brackets here. Let's see if I can do this one here. This one I can use a straight needle nose like this. Okay, now you need to remove this ground wire here. Okay, so now to get the wires off the injectors, you have these little, pushing these little tabs up on the top. You can use either a needle nose like I'm using, or maybe you have a better technique. What you want to be careful is not to pull or the wire itself. You want to just pull out the socket. So we'll push this in like that. That's out. So we just have to get 3. 3's giving us a little problem here. Oh, there it is. Just make sure we didn't. Always just check these. Make sure the wires aren't cut. Okay, so that's that, that's that. We have another clamp right here. Let's see if we can get that off. Okay. I'm gonna work on that. That'll be, then we can just push this whole thing right out of the way. Just want to get that one more. There's another clamp right down here. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna leave that on there because I don't have to take that off. Now that I can see, here's all the injectors. So the next thing we got to do is we have to disconnect the battery. The instructions say to remove this. That's called a fuel pipe clamp. This is a fuel pipe clamp. Okay, I'm going to remove that and I'm going to put it right there. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, got the battery disconnected. Okay, there it is. A little drip there. I'll let that sit. So now we have the fuel rail, and we got a 10 millimeter and a 10 millimeter there. And so now instructions say be really careful pulling those off because there's seals and you don't want to drop it or lose them, even though if you change the injectors you're going to get new seals. But we don't know what we're going to do here yet. We have to take these out and inspect them. So my guess is, I mean, look at all the dirt in there. I don't want that to fall into the engine. So I might have to get a vacuum cleaner, or I'll blow it out with my air hose. Look at all the crud in there. I mean, it's like caked in there. All right, you need a 12 millimeter to take out these bolts. Now, here's the bolt. The other one. Going to put them right here. Next, I'm going to pull the fuel rail off. But before I do that, I want to make sure everything's going to be all right here. So you can see all the injectors down there. Shit. Still doesn't want to come out. Damn. Certainly don't want to take the intake manifold off. So if we keep these injectors in. I think I'm going to take those bolts out. So I guess we're going to have to pull each injector off. In the meantime, let's see. Oh my God! Look at the crap down there. Shit. There it is. See that gas coming out of there? It's amazing. Look at the carbon on there. So there's a seal up here. You see that blue? That's the seal. And the fuel rail sits on top of that. So we can get the injectors out without removing the fuel rail. Or I should say, once we get the injectors out, we can lift the fuel rail up. This is number 1. Here's number 2. You know, it's wet in there. I see it's wet. I'm just wondering if maybe these things were leaking. Because a lot of times when I put the scanner on there, it said lean. There was a problem running too lean. So I've changed the catalytic converter, the upstream and downstream sensors, the mass air fuel sensor, the coolant temperature sensor. I've taken the coils out. I've done a compression check. All right, so this is number 2. You know, we can send these out and get them checked to see if they're clogged. If you look at the tiny little screens on there, you'll see why. I mean, these things very easily, and they're really pressed in there. This is number 3. This is the one that was wet inside. I can see it's kind of shiny in there. It's 1, 2, 3. One more to go. I just want to take this out with that one in there so you can see how these things are in. Because if you've never done anything like this, you know, just do a good look-see. See if you see any anomalies in there. Okay, so look, these things are pressed in. Just like that. I'm assuming that when we put this back in, we're going to have to put the injectors in first and then put this on. I don't see that as being easy. I'm certainly not going to take the intake manifold off to do this job. Anyway, I see a lot of fuel in there. I could crank the engine over and push that all out. But first I want to get these injectors set up. That's dry as a bone in there. Okay, yeah, that's drying up, so it must have been gas. There's a lot of carbon on there. Look at that one, how clogged that is. Now, I don't know if that's carbon or if that's from taking it out and getting it into that sludge. So, okay, so I'm going to find a local company that can check these and clean them, and we'll see if anything's bad. We'll get them rebuilt, put new seals on it, and then we can resume. In the meantime, I'm going to do what I can. First, let me take these seals out. Let's get those out because that's important. We might have to get new ones. Okay, we could either order new ones or clean these. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. Usually when I order parts for this car, it takes a week, a minimum of a week. Okay. Let me see how these are set in. If there's a top and a bottom. That's the top. That's the bottom. The bottom looks like it has a ridge on it. So the top of this seal is kind of, I want to say, flared out a little bit, so that you know what the top is, and probably it wouldn't fit in there upside down. So I don't think there's any way you can mess those up. But let me look at the crap in there. Damn. Now, according to the instructions, injector vibration insulator, that's what that's called, right there. So, and then here's the O-rings that go up on the top. That's the pipe spacer that we took out before. That's the rail. There's the bolts, 2 bolts. All right. According to the install new injector vibration insulators into the cylinder head. Install 2 number 1 delivery pipe spacers onto the cylinder head. That's these spacers right there. Install a fuel injector assembly. Apply a light coat of gasoline or spindle oil to new O-rings. Then install 1 onto each fuel injector assembly. Apply a light coat of gasoline or spindle oil to the contact surfaces of the fuel delivery pipe and the O-ring of the fuel injector assembly. While turning the fuel injector assembly left and right, install it onto the fuel delivery pipe subassembly. Install fuel delivery pipe. Install the fuel delivery pipe with the 4 fuel injectors, and then temporarily install the 2 bolts. So it says here, install the fuel delivery pipe with the 4 injectors, and then temporarily install the 2 bolts. So evidently we have to have the injectors in place before we put it in. And I don't know how that's going to happen because we couldn't get it out. Okay, so we have one more seal in there. Look at this. This is a vibration insulator. Okay, that's it. Okay, what I'm going to do here, I mean, I'm kind of fussy when it comes to stuff like this, so I've got these rubber plugs that I bought to repair my solar collectors for my pool one year, and they were too big, so I saved them, and now I'm going to make 4 plugs to put into the cylinders. You can see I've got 2 in there already to keep any of the cleaning fluid and whatever I'm going to use in that area to clean that all up. So I'll show you how I do it. Just take this rubber plug, get the screw started here, right in the center, put it in some sort of a vise, unless you can hold it with a pair of pliers. I mean, I don't know. And then just run these long 3-inch screws through there. Okay. Let's see. Now that's going to go in there. Okay, I think that's in. There it goes. It's in. I can feel it going in. You want to put the screws upside down, so make sure you can pull that out. All right, let me make one more, and then we can start to clean. I'm going to try this because it'll evaporate. I can see that it started it. Okay, let's let that sit. The plugs are holding. None of that stuff's going in the engine. I'll let that sit there and let it loosen up that crud. In the meantime, we'll blow it out. So I want to do one more thing before I bring these injectors to get them serviced, if I can get them serviced. I'm going to number them in such a way, because if any one of them is bad, then I'll know which cylinder, because I did have a little bit of problems with misfires on cylinders 3 and 4, and those are the cylinders I found most of the oil in. So I'll find a way to mark these. I guess maybe I could put a tag around them, or maybe a piece of tape, and then mark them that way. Either way, we're going to mark them. Okay, my friends, we're back, and we had these injectors cleaned and tested. I just got them back, and I'm getting ready to put them back in, except I need some new seals. The upper seals are on here, but these lower seals, these are the ones that were in here, and this is the seals that the guy gave me, but these are not the same. It's just not the same size. It's not going to work. So I ordered, hopefully, the right seals, which are coming in tomorrow morning. And then once we get those, we can start putting this thing back together. But I wanted to share with you the results of this test. By the way, I took it to a place called South Bay Fuel Injection in Rockville Center, New York. And here are the results. This is before they cleaned them. And this is a leak down dynamic test, and this is the static test. As you can see, there is a difference here in the 4 injectors. And here's one here. This one's too much, and this is not enough. I don't know, but this is what it came out after they did the work on them, and I can see that they're clean, and so that's how you get them. You send them out. Now these things are normally about $125, $135 a piece, and they're very rarely does anybody ever change them. But since I've been having this problem with the car for close to a year now, if not more, with the rough idle, I haven't been able to figure out what the problem is. So this is just going to either work, or it's going to be another thing I could eliminate. So I don't know if you can see this and read this properly. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at here, except that this is the test afterwards. And they're all the same, as you can see. And there's definitely a difference here. So that's it. And we will be back in the morning to hopefully put this thing back together. But in the meantime, I just wanted to show you what I did here, because I want to make sure that the seats for the seals on the bottom are clean. So I cleaned out the ports. The ports right there. In case there's any gummy deposits in yours, you want to get them out of there, and before you put the new seals in there, because that could cause a leak or have a problem. And as I said before, we had a lot of gook all in here, and it looked like it was wet. I don't know if that had anything to do with fuel leaking from there. And then we also had some antifreeze, drops of antifreeze on the intake manifold, which to me would indicate maybe either the intake manifold seal was leaking, or we have a head gasket. I don't know. Okay, this is all new to me. So tomorrow we will pick this up and clean it. So what I used, by the way, to clean that is I just bought these brushes, some kit here online that comes with the handle, and then these brushes here, which fit in there, which is what I used. And so I basically stuck them down into the cylinder like that, but I used an angle It's really hard to get in there without taking the intake manifold off, but you can do this by hand, and just to make sure you get all the debris out of there and the gum. So I'll blow that out, and we'll catch you on the rebound on tomorrow. Okay, my friends, we are back, and we have new seals. We had to buy these seal kits from the local auto store. I couldn't get the Toyota parts. Everything's, a week to 10 days out. I just don't have the time to wait. So there were 4 seals in each one of these boxes. There were 4 of these. These are all the leftovers, and I hope I got the right ones on there. Did change the tops, the rubber seals up on the top, and then these look a little different than what was on there, because what was on there was this seal here, and this has a little bit of a ridge up on the top, and I don't know if it's like that because it's got like a piece of metal in there, and then the rubber seal is around that. So this new seal doesn't have that. It's just, it's the same size. So I hate to put this whole thing back together and then find out that these seals are no good. But I'm going to have to go with it because that's all I have right now. So anyway, what I'm doing here is I take a couple of Q-tips and clean out these electrical connections in here in case there's any debris or any oil. I want to get that all cleaned up, and then also to clean out the little ports where these things go in. Just want to make sure I clean these up as best I could. You want to make sure there's no debris in there because the seal will not seat properly. Anyway, these are pretty clean. I used a wire brush on these. I think earlier part of the video I showed using a wire brush, because here it is. Here's the wire brush that I used to clean there. Got in there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little lubricant on those seals and push those injectors in there and reattach the fuel rail. I've got some silicone grease here, and we'll put some of this on there and we'll push them in. Just going to put a little dab, just enough so this thing doesn't get caught and slides in easily, and then a little bit, hardly any on there, just up on the top. So the instruction manual says put a little gasoline grease. I don't know what gasoline grease is, to be honest with you. Never heard of it. So just a coating on here. Whether or not this engine's going to run better, looking at the report from the flow test, you would see that these things were not exactly ideal shape. But then again, we have 140,000 miles on the car, so. Alright, so we'll push these in place, and then we'll put a little bit of lubricant on the fuel rails, on this fuel rail, just so that when we push this back on, it's just going to slide on nice and easily. Let's go to town here. Okay, I believe that's in. Let's do another one. all pressed in. Now the fuel rail, which goes like this. Now this one here is broken. The little ridge on there is stuck in there. It's just a spacer, supposedly. We'll see how this is going to go. Okay, so we have to turn these out. Okay, that's in. Okay, let's get these bolts in here. Okay, all right, so that's all tightened up. Everything looks good. Everything looks clean in those terminals there. So let's just continue putting things back together. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the intake manifold gasket because they sent me the wrong one. They sent me the one that connects from the intake manifold to the block. So fortunately these are made out of rubber, and I haven't reused this before. I would have rather replace it and put a new one on, but I cleaned out, there was a lot of oil underneath this seal here, and so I cleaned it out with Q-tips, get all the oil out of there. Now I could put a coating of silicone on this rubber, because as I said before, I noticed there was some drops of antifreeze on that intake manifold when I took this off. That would indicate to me that, you know, we might have a bad head gasket. I don't know that. Anyway, we're going to have to reuse this. The most unfortunate thing about this car is that you can't get parts. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our wires back on. Start putting things back together. There's some brackets that go in here that we're going to put on. Here they are. So one of these had broken, and I put a cable tie on there to hold that cable in. This goes in here like so, and then the other one goes over there, and that would be this one. So let's get these things started and resume. Alright, so we got these little hose clips here back in, and that just holds this hose here in place so it doesn't vibrate and get hung up somewhere. This hose right here goes like this. You can see the mark. That goes in like that, and that goes in like that. We have our fuel line right here. Goes on like this. Okay, that's on, and then we have this little clip. That keeps that line from coming out. Now we have a wiring harness here. This is going to go in here like that. This one's going to go in here like that. And we have our coil. This is the ground wire. This ground wire here goes over there. That's a 10 millimeter. Okay, so now on here, these two camshaft oil valves, I ordered new seals because I was getting oil. You can even, or maybe see a little bit of oil in here. I changed the oil filler cap because I was getting oil around here, and I'm still getting a little bit of oil around here. So I ordered new seals for these two oil valves, and I'm not going to hook these up yet. Just leave them loose because I'm going to pull them out when I get the seals. They're supposed to come in the mail today, and then we'll go from there. And let's see if we got this. That's right. So we got our coils, our injectors, a fuel rail, brackets that hold a hose. We still have a couple of got our clamp on here for the fuel line. This goes into the plenum. That's for the vacuum. Also, when you take off these hoses, I don't know, you may not be able to see that, but it's all dry rotted in there and cracked. So I might have to replace that. This goes on, clips on somewhere like that. So right now we've got these particular connectors here. Has a little clamp there. I'm not sure where that goes. I'll look at my video and see if we could find out where that goes. Alright, so now the next thing to do, I believe, would be to put the plenum back on. I think that's good. This is going to go down here. This is going to go there. This is going to go in here. This goes into the intake. This goes here. There's a bolt that goes in right through here. It goes in here like that. Okay, like this. Okay. This one here, there's another spot. So the nuts go on here. Now these things need to be torqued. So we'll get our torque wrench out after we snug them up. All right, torque specifications. Cylinder head bolts. That's the cylinder head. Manifold intake 24. Okay, that's the middle one. Let me get a deep dish here. This manifold's in the way. I may have to use a swivel on there. Okay, now we just have one down there. All right, Now she's all torqued down. Right, this goes on here. Okay, that's all looking good. I would prefer if it was all the way in. It's probably okay. Alright, so now what we got? We got this here, clips onto here. Got that. This is connected, that goes there. Okay, I think that's it. All right, looking good. Just have to tighten up this little bolt here. This is the mass hair fuel sensor. That goes like this. All right, we're getting there. Okay, what's next? These. I think that's it. From what I can see, you hook up the battery. Okay, he's up and running. I still have a little bit of a miss in the engine. Big problem is when you put it in gear, it gets worse and the engine wants to stall. So I hope this video helps someone be able to change their injectors, or maybe at least pull them out and get them serviced and so on and so forth. The fact that I'm still having a little bit of a miss here indicates to me that I really haven't gotten the problem yet. So in my next video I'm going to change the coils and the plugs, and we'll go from there. But at least I know that the injectors are good. So by process of elimination, maybe someday we'll really figure out what's going on. Well, thanks for watching. If you had any questions, you can reach out to me on my channel and I'll see if I can help you out.